Shamps and Giggles. History, news, views, and reviews from a black perspective. Shamps and Giggles back for 2024. Oh my lord.
There we go, yeah. Pinky, so the three BAFTA candidates, we had Top Boy, we had Bemi Sola, and the young man that we just saw there, White Nanny Black Child.
Very emotional.
Yeah.
Very emotional. And to think that he's mentioned, yes, South London, always the best come out of South London. I always have to say that. But just hearing what he just said there and like saying, keep dreaming. But just to hear, that's all the racism, everything that you have to face to get to there, to get to that, that moment. Like he said, he dreamt about being on that stage from a child. The BAFTAs is not, the BAFTAs is only now, I guess, recognizing, but it's a hard road. And rightfully now we are having a lot more black actors that are coming up, and writers, poets, that have been a lot more recognized, having to run to, instead of running to, America all the time, it's right here at home. Do you know what I mean? So it's good. And it made me feel quite emotional. It made me emotional because it resonates exactly with you in what he's saying, and that's what you want to tell every estate, child, or every young black child, going through your struggles. You can do it. There's nothing that says no, you can't. And that's what you're saying.
Good trouble.
Yes, get into good trouble. Getting into good trouble, for me, I say getting into good trouble is making sure you go to youth clubs and things like that, but we don't have that now. So yeah, get into good trouble. Yes.
Yeah, get into good trouble is
luckily for those people who gave him that little break, and that was such a thing, like you said, it was such a controversial of, that whole history in British, some children didn't go to good homes, but there were some children that went to very good homes, middle class. That's when middle class was middle class back then. And some children did go to middle class homes, and I guess some did well, some didn't do so well. You know what I mean? Because it was a lot of upheaval for the children.
It's absolutely interesting. What comes out of these things, yeah. So Spin Doctor's put in abbyshow.com, and one of the councils on the show. This is the website of the link that he just put in there. So so I'm holding the BAFTA there. I help Black women realize the responsibility of needing to feel strong, everyone except themselves, by creating a safe space to be nourished, heard, and held while showing up without feeling guilty about putting themselves first. Nothing wrong with putting yourself first. In fact, it's very, very, very important to do so, because, of course, you know what they say, become invisible. So she's written about a Black baby girl fostered by a white family at the tender age of 5 weeks old shares her moving story of the search for identity. And that was one of the things that came up, White Nanny Black Child, that these Black children put in white homes where they could see that actually I don't really fit here. What's going on? What's going on? Something's missing, isn't it? Fine, Keith, you can keep going. You don't have to mute yourself every time. Your little they can be heard. But so something was missing, and of course these children grew up, and then of course went on to look and find the thing. Big up Yoland in the building. Went on to find the thing that the thing that was missing was family, innit? Family looks like you. And I think White Nanny Black Child was moving. I remember the controversies there. In some cases, it was not so good, but then in some cases, it worked. Because, of course, every child needs a home. Better to have a home with someone outside of your race than to have no home at all. You know, and it has to be said in terms of fostering, adopting, and so on. You know, Black children get left behind it's heartbreaking to see. I've not seen it myself, but I've only heard. My niece adopted 2 children, beautiful children, and it is a struggle in that regard. So, you know, everybody needs love wherever it comes from.
Well,
So,
that's it. There's no. I always say that there's plenty Black children out there that need adopting. Trust me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know
and
that you in your own community, Black people can go and adopt. You know,
yeah, but there's plenty Black people out there that need
if
love.
they want to.
They're in
Pardon?
a family and they need love.
Yeah.
They're in a family and need help. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. Literally, you can't make this stuff up. It's all happening out there. I swear to God, it's like beggars belief sometimes. Where, you know, but
And even
everybody needs
foster.
help.
You
You
can do
know,
fostering. It helps.
yeah, fostering. You know, is a key. Is a double-edged sword. To be fair, looking at both sides of the spectrum, because it's quite a big. There's issues involved with the whole system. But fostering is a good thing, especially if the child gets fostered and goes on to be adopted, because in that case they're in a continued solid foundation. And my niece and nephew's in that situation, yeah, fostered and then went to be adopted. And then you got other fostering type situations where the child goes from one foster home to another foster home to another foster home to another. Do you know what I mean? And when that happens, it's like, oh, come on. There's no consistency. There's no continuation. The child don't know if they're coming, they're going. They can't settle, can't develop roots and foundation, all the rest of it. And sadly, oftentimes children just grow up and they're a bit of a mess. You know, so there's a good and bad, but I think the fostering is important as well, because every child needs love. You know, so there's a big role in the community for foster parents. The pay is good as well, by the way. The pay is good. You know, and obviously that is a work from home job. That's a work from home job. I think though that, yeah, if you know, it's children that basically need love. So if anyone can step up and engage in the fostering, you know, it's not, it can't be a bad thing. It's a good thing. And if those children get that piece of love, that piece of encouragement, it can help transform a life. So it's an amazing thing. Here we are talking about White Nanny Black Child, but let's Keith, did you have more?
I did, but that's fine. I can run it over for next week because there's so much to talk about. So we can run it over for next week. So it's absolutely fine.
So he's got a ton more. So good Lord, this is the month of May, and Keith with his banter, he's loaded.
Yeah.
But so what this situation with we're in the third section. This situation with the youth clubs closing, and you keep hearing it in the news. And it seems to occur, the discussion, when there's knife crime. Somebody's been stabbed. Oh, and then they're talking about the youth clubs, and that's part of the reason that Sadiq Khan, and you know, in his run up to this election that he's just won, his opposers were forever putting out the track record under his watch, and knife crime was a big thing. That was on you know, his opposers were saying, you know, look at this, about 10 people in London for every 100,000 residents were admitted to hospital So 10 per 100,000, isn't it? Is that 1%? Not 1%, is it? Hey, look. Yeah, after being assaulted with a knife or sharp object in 22-23. Up slightly. So they keep the stats on this thing. And then, you know, it was Sadiq Khan who's overseeing it, and then guns coming into the picture. So we've all got family that we know. London's murder rate has fallen under all three mayors, and then here it is, and Sadiq Khan. I don't know how they do put all these numbers together, because that's all what they seem to do. They just seem to put numbers and numbers into the pot, and sort of come up with some formula. But knife crime, while London's knife crime figures are relatively high compared with much of England, the capital is not the worst. And then they compare that in Cleveland, wherever that is. Is there Cleveland in the UK? Cleveland? Cleveland. Isn't that an American place? Color Queen is in the building. And the West Midlands police areas, more hospital admission for stab wounds were recorded than in London. But I mean, you're making comparisons. The fact of the matter is that all of this crime, stabbings, is lives being lost or dismembered, disfigured, and all the rest of it. And obviously this is all political debate. What can we do for our kids in light of this situation in London where stabbings is high, and the fact that the youth clubs and places to go for the youth are just not available to the extent that they used to be? And that's the thing, because what we're seeing here is that these councils are making a choice, and it's based on spending. Yeah, and when they're choosing to make their cuts, what they're cutting the legs off the youth. You know, youth clubs close after council funding cuts, and it's going on across the country. In this particular case, this is in Kent. 50 Kent youth clubs, after funding cuts, said he said that young people have been given no information. So how important was youth club for you when growing up? And then how do you feel about the youths now not having them? I think that's really it. The youths now, they just don't have them. So when you was growing up, did you have a youth club that you could attend? You know, that kept you, as it were, on the straight and narrow. It's open discussion. Feel free to raise a hand or comments. Keith, your hand is up. Talk to Tim.
Yeah, when I was growing up, that's what I grew up in, youth clubs. In West London, there was lots of youth clubs around West London, and two great adventure playgrounds which incorporated youth clubs. But back in my day, there was, I'm trying to remember them: Rugby Club, Harrow Club, Lancaster Club. The schools, Isaac Newton School had a youth club, Ladbroke School had a youth club, Henry Compton had a youth club, Christopher Wren had a youth club, and I used to go to them all. And the reason why I went to them all, because they all had different things that I was interested in. In Ladbroke Grove especially, I was happy, and I went into the Lancaster Club and Akram, where the Adventure Playground was, because their sound systems were in there. Yeah. And that's how I built my sound system. So back in them days, it was Trojan, Cup of Tea, One Love, and my sound, Senator. So, and there was others, numerous, but that's what I was focused in on. And for me, to tell you the truth, I have a lot of friends that took the north side of the path. And, you know, so, and some of them are not with us. Some of them maybe in prison, incarcerated, and have tag names, you know.
Mm.
I won't go into what I mean by the tag names, but they have tag names. So I was grateful that I stayed on the other path because I listened to music and I love music. And then I loved photography. So I went in Christopher Wren to do a photography class. And that's a
Good.
youth club. You know, there are tuck shops. I was well into the tuck shops. You know, I had a brilliant time. But for the youths of now, they've missed out on all of that. Totally missed out. And for me, their youth club is the streets.
Well, you know, that's the thing, isn't it? In the youth club, let me get Colour Queen first. Colour Queen, talk the things.
Yeah, just on the back of what DJ Smart was saying, we had the play schemes and they run for the whole of the 6-week holiday, and you could have like a packed lunch. So sometimes like they would take you on a day out, like to the seaside. Then there was rounders, badminton, table tennis. And so there was something to look forward to every single day, which really was supportive for the mums and the dads who had to go to work. But it was a safe environment. So nobody was really kind of like milling around in the street or anything like that. And it was safe and this kind of stuff. And like the youth clubs as well, they had on site, one of the youth clubs I used to go to in Hornsey when I lived in Hornsey, they had like a resident social worker and like a nurse. If you had any issue, you could sort of have a little chat with somebody, or, you know, emotional issues or something like that. And we were a community and we had that safe place to go. And on a Friday night, they would maybe have like a little sound, play a little bit of music, have a little bit of a disco.
Music,
you know,
always
your
comes
little
in,
music, yeah, the little bit of disco. And it was nice, and everybody was nice, and the music that we listened to was definitely promoting love and good feelings, good vibe, positivity, you know, that kind of stuff. The Lovers Rock epoch, you know, the Rubber Dub epoch. I know DJ Smiley loved all that. So yeah, it was just so nice, and it's such a shame because these children, they don't have that. They close in the libraries, they close in the youth club, and this is why, because people need to be a part of something. It's Maslow's hierarchy of need, a feeling to belong. That is why the road claims them, because they need an affiliation, and if you don't guide your kids, the road will.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot there. And one of the things, like, they're closing these youth clubs. They've closed so many. In this BBC news where they're talking about, this is in Kent, yeah? But they're rolling this out everywhere, okay? And here they're saying, said moving to family hubs, what does that mean? Will help us to better target services to young people where they're needed most through a mix of on-site, online. And it looks like these councils are so, am I allowed to say broke? And when I say broke, I don't mean financially broke. Broke. They haven't got ideas. You can't put kids online. It'll drive them insane because they wonder online and what mess they're getting into through the computer and all that, right? It's a quagmire. And that's what they're trying to, because it's cheap to have them working online. Leisha, your hand is up.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback off Colour Queen and
everybody's piggybacking.
Yeah,
Colour Queen piggyback off.
No, because
you're piggybacking off Colour Queen. Watch Pinky when she comes.
She ignited some really great memories at school. So my community, sort of like the hubs that went to were from school. I remember we had community after adventure. Like you go to school up until 3:30, and after being after school up until 6 o'clock, and then afterwards you go to like an adventure or a community hall for another hour. Then you go home. I think it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And you made friends, you made things. I did pottery classes. I learned how to knit. I learned how to sew. I learned how to play instruments. I learned, I just everything, did absolutely everything. It was brilliant. And now what you find is online with these kids, the Gen Zs, the Gen Zs, they wish that they had what we had because they don't have, like, you know, I was speaking to this woman, someone really, really quickly, speaks to this lady, and she's got a 4-year-old. And I was speaking to her and I said, you know what? Back in the day, she's not from here, she's from Africa. And she was with her kid and she was with my sister's daughter. And her daughter really wanted to stay with my sister's daughter and play. And she's like, no, we've got to go, we've got to go. I said, you know what? Back in the day, the parents would just sit down, let the kids play and let them eat in the house and then they'll go home. But you want to go home and take the kid home. And she's only been here for like 5 minutes. See, that's the sort of thing where community is just like, I think people are not, even it's got to the point where people don't feel comfortable being part of a community anymore because the way how the system is right now, it's not community based. So people have almost accepted that there's no community centres.
There you go. Right. And they got to do it for themselves. They
You got to do it for yourself. Yeah. There's a mistrust. There's always this mistrust about people. Whereas we were very much, I don't know, I remember going to school as a group of us going to school all together and a group of us going back home all together. And it was just...
We travelled in groups.
Yeah, it was just lovely to be a kid then. It was amazing. I loved it. You know, now there's an absolute fear. And even with these, I think even with they've made us so fearful that even getting rid of, disbanding a lot of these community centres has been quite easy. Yeah. It's been very, very easy because there's no pushback from parents. I can't see the pushback in droves for parents going, no, we need them. I know there are some that say we need them, but there's not a pushback in droves that I think there should be.
And this is part of why the conversation has got to be had. Parents are affected, but we're in cost of living crisis, allegedly, right? And if you want to believe what they're telling you. And so parents are out trying to put bread on the table. They're trying to put bread on the table. That's what they're out working. They're not, you know, it takes two parents. When houses were like 200,000, it was like two parents need to work. Houses are 400,000 and 800,000. Like, good Lord. Parents, what are they doing? They just can't sleep. It's troubled time. So if you're out there grinding, working, to follow up on all these things is become very difficult. And then you hear this one closed, that one closed, the other closed. You can't get in there, you can't get in there, you can't get in the other place. Oh, what am I going to do with the kids? Well, you have to stay and be on your computer. And that's just a huge mistake. You know, leave kids alone on the computer. I mean, it's bad enough the computer's on their phone, you know. Here's just a, Pinky, I'm going to take your hand. Just ready yourself with the mute. You can take it off. Look at this. Here's a throwback. Look, playing pool. And look, there's a few trophies there, right? So showing city youth clubs in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? I mean, there used to be crowds of us. There'd be parties. You get a football team, you know. Oh, I don't know where it's gone there. But there was a lot of activity. Like, I remember on my side, Priory over there. Priory was in Acton. We had Simba in Bush. There was the Vale. There was the play scheme. Then Halveston had its share. And you know, you end up going to the events up there. I mean, come on, everywhere. And there was always something to do. And actually, there was so much to do, you didn't always have to do it. You knew it was there when you was ready to go. Pinky, hands up. But, you know, hearing about all these 1,000 youth clubs have closed, that's an insane number, isn't it? How many have been set up? Pinky. You know, it's these kids are just being, it's being taken away from them before they even know it's there. Because in our case, we were able to access these venues, right? we've grown up and we're able to look back and say, you know what, that's really good. I appreciate having gone to the youth clubs because I learned this, I learned that, made friends from it. Well, Keith, you got married.
That's right. No, true. And that's, yeah, spot on. Yeah. And
You know what I mean?
Steel Pan, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you know, Steel Pan, brilliant. And so these kids, before they're even aware of these things existing and their relevance that will have in their future life, it's been taken away. What have they been left with? Remember when we were kids? Well, you look out on the road, their kids were out on the road doing skateboard, roller skate, you're on your bike, you're playing football, you play cricket, you're playing other kinds of games. You know, we were talking about it the other day, hopscotch. I am driving all across London on various jobs. I can't see a hopscotch mark out on the pavement for trying. I mean, I'm just, you know, I'm working in people's homes, going all over the gaff. You don't see the evidence. When we were kids, there were evidence that children are here, right? Keith, I was with you the other day. We was in Hammersmith.
Yeah, that's right.
And what did we see on the wall in Hammersmith?
Yeah, an old makeup foot goal, a goal frame of a goal. Yeah, yeah. And we both said back in the day, you kicked the ball against the wall, and there's your makeshift. Yeah, we couldn't believe it. Yeah.
There's the goal, and then the game on.
Yeah.
And away you go.
Yeah.
Evidence of kids. Now, beggars believe. Where's the evidence? Pinky, you came back. Your hands up.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, it's sad that we're losing. My son now is on his way back home from a youth club, which is in West London, because my side of the water, there's hardly any. And imagine, back in the 80s, I qualified as a youth worker. And I also qualified in various things that I could offer young people. One of them was photography. I learned to do black and white photography and could teach someone how to develop and, you know, do your film and everything else. And also, I also had qualified as what we back then was called your Community Sports Leaders Award, which was given to me, via the CCPR, which was your Central Council of Physical Recreation. And when you think about, you did all of those qualifications, so that meant, like, you know, I could cover things like, because I had my FAs for football, I had my basketball, my table tennis. These are all things that I could offer young people. I could also qualify them. I could go through stuff, and they just practically, Wandsworth, which is my brother, made you practically redundant, because that's not the field. I mean, a lot of my young people now are like in their 40s, and some of them are still went on to work as teachers. They did well. They didn't end up. There were one and two. There was one and two wherein you saved. I mean, you've got so solid. You know, a lot of those young people there, I grew, and I'm proud of the young people that came across, and the youth clubs that I worked at back then in those times. Comparisons are now, my son goes out once a week on a Friday, which is now, he's on his way back home. He knows that I'm a panicker because he's just actually called me. He's saying, Mum, how old am I? Because obviously they clearly don't believe that he's his age because he's very small. And he knows that I panic. And he said, oh, Mum, what age did you have me at? Because he's trying to show that I'm a really older mum. So he has to tune in with me because he doesn't have a phone. So he's obviously using his friend's phone to call me, because I've always said, you're not having a phone until you leave school. You can have your phone because I know you're going to be on it 24/7 and it's going to be a problem. So I don't need the problem. You don't have a phone, but I can still reach you. We reach you through your mate.
Yeah. You know,
But
people
youth
are
clubs,
reachable. Look, when we were kids, we had no phone. There was a pay phone, but Mum knew where we were. We were reachable. Mum would send one of my brothers, go and find your brother. That's what she had to say. Go and find your brother.
yeah.
And
But if you, for trouble and knife crime, you look into the areas where most of those youth clubs have been
Taken away.
scrapped. You look at how high the gang and the knife crime. Where I am, I didn't even realize, which is Top Boy and all of those lot that are showing you what you've seen. This is all here. We've become one of the, I didn't even realize, you know, some of the top gangs come from where I live.
Mm,
Okay.
that's it.
And this is where you closed and took away a lot of the youth work,
Yeah.
where we would have made a difference.
Yes, stand up to
Do you understand?
tell them,
Yes.
look, you're
Where
on the
I mean,
wrong
even
path.
today, I can walk through anywhere. I don't have a problem because my respect is yes, mummy.
Yeah.
But I'm just
Older.
saying, you broke that down because you made us redundant. Wandsworth Council,
The councils did that.
Conservative, yes, the councils, yes.
Yeah, but
And
listen,
my
so-
borough is one of the richest councils. Wandsworth, look them up. There are, and
They
they
have
are
the
more.
money.
They act more
But
like
this
a
is-
company
This
because
I
they
said they're not
creamed off.
broke. They're not broke.
No,
but
well,
it's-
they're
it's-
not. But
it's
but
they
that
got
those
no
are the
idea.
services that they always hit first, and they always hit the youth, the young people, and mental health. And
Right.
this is where we've got the problem. Yeah,
Right.
it's schools. Yeah, so it's the resources. Yeah, and that's the first thing that they cut. And
Yeah.
this is why, and you're right, because parents have become apathy to the knife crime and the closure of these things, because there's nothing for your children to do. Your children are at home 24/7, those who keep them at home, or they're on street. Yeah, because there's nothing for them to do and they crowd in their little circles.
Well,
Yeah,
of course. What do you expect them to do?
well, that's it. What do you expect them to do? Yes, yes, those are the youth clubs. Those, yeah, look what they got in their hand. They got guitar, they got percussion in their hand.
So
They were doing something positive, but that's
No,
what the government didn't want. The prisons weren't filling up enough for them. That's how I feel. Because they made us redundant. Why did I do all of those qualifications to, like you said, to move with the times? The book, like you said, that move with the times. So we had to quickly jump boat from youth work to something else because youth work was beginning to make you redundant. Because you're closing all the youth clubs.
Right. So let's touch on one of the subjects. You went through a fair number of different subjects there, Pinky. But so the youth clubs, like you said with your boy, he's had to go to West London because in your area, most of the youth clubs have now closed down. And of course, you've noticed in your area that, you know, these ganglands are on the rise because you're hearing bad things happening in the area. And anyone can plot the map where youth clubs used to be, what used to happen with the youth. Whereas now, youth clubs closed down, what's happening with the youth? What are they doing? How are they being entertained? How are they passing their time? What's their engagement? Who? You see, the thing about it, when we were growing up, you went to the youth club, your parents knew who you was engaging with, because at the youth club, they can put faces to it. When these children start going on the phone and they on their game and they're talking to someone, and you think that's a young person, that you don't know that they could be talking to some adult that's grooming them. And we've heard those stories as well, see? So for a council to be saying they're closing the youth club, oh, and there's online opportunities or options for the youth, that's got to be wrong, because yes, there can be, but the children still need to be supervised. They still need the supervision. Keith, your hand is up.
Yeah, yeah, and the sad thing is those days are never coming back. They're never coming back, and I know that everybody keeps informing the government and saying there's no youth, they need somewhere to meet up, they need a centre. it's not going to happen because, as we know, cost of living crisis, can't find funding for this, that, and the other. They're not going to put it into new buildings for youth clubs. They're just not going to. So they
Right.
rely on the churches to have their little community ones that they have, or some schools might have a little club, after school club. But the old fashioned clubs that we used to have, you're not going to see them. You may find a few venture centers around, but they're never going to come back again. They're never going to come back. And just going back on one clip that you showed before with the Black Brothers on the stairs with the guitar. I think it was the one before, the beginning of that particular one. Yeah, that one. My brother is on the left with the guitar.
That is it.
Patrick. Yeah, that's my brother, Patrick. Yeah. And that was his band with Junior Coppin on the right, Biggs, and Tony Francis at the back on the bass guitar. Yeah, that's Tony Francis. And his brother, Tony Francis' brother, was in the original. Oh God, I'll remember it in a minute. I'll tell you. He was in a film. Yeah, that was their youth club, and they learned to play the guitar and made a band and made a record and things like that back in the day. So yeah, those days.
See, they were being creative. You know, they were being
Yeah.
taught an instrument.
Yeah.
Where do you have now? Which
Yeah.
you tell me now? Be honest. How
No,
many
you don't.
people? How many people in their family have a child that plays an instrument? Come on.
In London, it's always next to zero. If you go out into the wider areas, sometimes
Right, there you go. Next to zero. Other than if they learnt a little instrument, maybe when you're in primary, that you might pick up, you'd be lucky enough to pick up an instrument today in primary. But look at that. And look, well done, Keith. I didn't even know that was your brother. Look at that. And that picture's really old. When I saw that came up in our board meeting group, I was like, whoa,
Yeah,
that's
it's
like,
very old.
wow.
Yeah.
It's youth club. Look at that. Back
Right,
in the day.
Right. So creativity. So what do youth
Yeah.
clubs do? They provide creativity
Yeah.
for youngsters. So there's an adult in the building. The youth come regularly to the club. They get to know the adult. What do you call the adult in the building, by the way?
We're youth leaders. We're youth
Youth
workers.
leaders. Because I remember Curtis. I saw Curtis up in Harlesden the other day. I remember Curtis was one of them in our youth club. And part of the problem, I can remember this, but was when the government started announcing cuts, that gives concern to the youth leaders. Oh, they're talking about cuts. How are we going to raise money to stay open? So now the youth leaders are unable to focus on the children because they got to focus on how do we keep the place open. You see?
That's fundraising.
Yeah. So there's a knock-on effect. But nonetheless, the youth leaders engender and foster creativity in the youths so that these youths can go on to become a guitar player, have a band, make
not only in the arts. There's not only the arts, there's also things like woodwork. Yeah, so there's also things like mechanics. Yeah, because some guys then ran programs where they taught some of the youths them a little bit of mechanics. And then there was that out of what we call, what we used to call outreach as well. So those youths that were a little bit more harder and wanted to be more on the street, you had the youth workers that go outreach. So you go to where they are. Do you understand? Where they gather? Yeah, and then engage. Yeah, and you talk, discuss, and engage with them. It wasn't only it. The youth club was more than just, I think for some of it, it was doing such a good job for a lot that a lot of youths were off the street, and that we were doing such a good job, and hence why they closed down a lot. And then we felt
that's not why they closed it down. But here's the
because
thing.
we never
Like
had
you just
gangs
said,
when we were at youth club or when we were running youth clubs.
like you said, talk, discuss, and engage with the youth. And
That's
with
right.
the advantage of the youth club, as opposed to parents, is that you're getting the youth them in their environment with their friends. And then you can talk to them on a level and you can give them guidance.
Of
And
course.
they start coming back to you and saying, and talking to you about their ideas and so on and so on. And then they can get what? Encouragement.
Of course, but you can see it. You can see it from Top Boy. Those
Yeah.
some those youths came through my our youth club. You can see it through the same group that I've mentioned before. So Solid. They came through our youth club. You can see it through. There's so many young people that I can sit down. Can't think off the top of my head so fast now. That I can connect with youth club. That made footballers, that made managers, did very well.
Singers.
And now this is what they are. They have to cover their face. Where did we ever have to cover? When our youths were going to youth, they never had to cover their face.
Why? What are you hiding for?
They never used to have to cover their face.
No,
and they could go into any area.
Yeah, you know,
Didn't have a problem.
And then this postcode wars came out. I don't know.
That's right.
I could never
Because they didn't have nothing to do. They stood on. They were more out on the estates and on the corners.
Stand out there like they own it. And then, the thing about it, when you take away the youth workers, the next people to talk to these youth them is the police.
That's right.
And it's just gone too far then, really. I mean, seriously, couldn't we have intervened before the police came along, right? But yeah, without the youth workers, the police come in and things get a bit heavy-handed and get, you know, all blown out of control and out of proportion. So the youth workers, where's Dion, by the way? She had a lot to say. The youth workers are a pivotal role for the youngsters as they're coming up. And it's absolutely necessary because the youngsters find someone, an older person outside of them, that they can have some sort of trust in, right? And then they're with their peers and so on. And together they can learn to do constructive, creative things that, right, that's beneficial, a contribution to society. You take away the youth club, now these youths are on their phone, no guidance, coming up with bare foolish ideas. Who they're talking to? They're talking to themselves. So if you're a fool and you talk to a fool, what's going to be the outcome?
Disastrous.
It reminds me of that. What was that TV show? Was it a movie? Dumb and Dumber? You get one fool, talk to another fool. What's going to be the outcome? And that's what's happening. You know, look at this. We're looking in the chat, by the way, and there's a lot of conversation going on in this chat. Better than PlayStation. And what's that? Oh, that's Supreme. And look, behind the bike sheds and a lot of doctors and nurses. What's all that about? Doctors and nurses behind bikes. That's why you hiding stuff. What? I mean, Knockdown Ginger. That was. You know, funny thing with Knockdown Ginger, we used to play that a lot on my road. And funny, you got to know the neighbors, who's going to come out and chase you, who's not going to come out and chase you. And then the neighbors would actually befriend you because they obviously, in my road, we knew all the parents. Because obviously there were so many kids. Every child has a parent. So you go with one youth to somebody's house, or to his house, so you get to know his mum. His mum knows your mum because he knows your mum. And then somehow the mums meet up, so the mums know each other. Oh, you're down by Jimmy. Oh, you're down, Jimmy. And so I'm telling you, there was no phone. There was no phone, no social media, but it was live, it was real. Everybody knew everyone, so you was in a safe environment. Somehow they've taken away the reality and they've put the foolishness into the mix of, I mean, like, I can't believe the guy's saying go online. Where are you if you're online by yourself? You know, somebody said about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That must have been colored. And you know, you need that human touch, right? And the government's. So what can we do? That's the thing to think about. Back in the day, we had nothing, but we made everything out of nothing. today the kids got, well, what have they got actually? They've got a lot of stuff, gadgets. But I mean, it's not the same as what we had. Big up PJ's in the building. Angela Barrows is in the building. Lord have his mercy. What a guan. I mean,
That's not true. Back in the day, we had some wicked toys. We had those knockers, the ones where we used to knock. No, not knockers, not conkers. The ones that we used to knock together. I forgot what they used to call. We had those.
Like
yeah, like they were like a bit like the conkers, and you would knock them together. Yeah, I forgot. Binoculars.
Marbles.
There were two like little.
No. It's Kanakas or Caracas or something like that.
Yeah,
You know, they flap, and you have to have a skill, and they just knock into each other.
Wicked. And then we had our yo-yo. Don't mess, man. Then we had Chopper. We had bikes like Chopper.
Yeah, Chopper.
Listen, we had good games. Don't you're talking
But
nonsense.
no, the kids got games, but there's too many. When we had games, there was a few who actually could become good at it. Now, how many games are on your phone? I remember when
no. Today, the children's games that they play is on the computers.
Yeah, but there's so many of them.
It is that is here to stay. That is definitely something that has changed. Because I'm even being told that, it's all now becoming part of curriculum.
What?
The digital games, gaming, whatever. Yeah, for like film and whatever. Yeah. Or whoever. I don't know what one it is, but I know one of them is becoming quite big. Stop laughing, Keith.
Oh Lord, this is going on in the chat, There's the swimming. Now, swimming was something we did. I remember King Edward's, they used to have the outdoor pool. When you have a hot day, you'd head up to the pool, and somehow we knew the temperature's right. I mean, good Lord, what do we know as kids about temperature? You don't have, like nowadays, you got the temperature on your phone. Back then, we just knew it was hot. Everybody would run in, we're going swimming. All of us, you run home, Mom, we're going swimming. Me and my friends, it was 10p or 20p. It was something so nothing, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? 10 or 20p, you could go to the swimming pool.
Oh yeah, swimming was the best. We loved it.
Right.
And then we get our bag of chips, at the end of swimming.
Yeah.
Get your bag of chips, squirt all your tomato ketchup on. Oh,
yeah.
That used to be wicked after a swimming session. Loved it.
I mean, so King Eddie's had the outdoor pool. Whitesea had the indoor pool with the waves.
Yeah. Wicked. We loved it, Joe.
How did we get there? Walk. No bus, none of that.
Yeah, no, we walked,
However far away it was, there was a group of you. You walked. It was a good few miles. You walked. Nobody complained. You walked. Come in. Alicia, your hand's been up for a long time. Come in. White kids went to Army Cadets. No, I went Army Cadets. There was one down the road.
That's true, A lot of them do go Army Cadets and.
Oh, let Leisha talk. Somebody's been put on mute. Leisha, your hand's raised up.
Yeah, I just had a little chuckle when Pinky was telling us that knocking two sticks together was brilliant back in the day. I'm sorry. I was thinking about any Gen Z kid listening to us talking about knocking knackers together and enjoying it thoroughly.
That's what we did.
No, yeah, I know. But I think what I wanted to say is that back then we had to use our imagination. And we interacted, we spoke a lot. We when little things like meeting up, being on time, because you knew that if you weren't on time, you'd miss out on the fun.
Yeah.
Being part of a community. Now, one of the things Pinky was trying to explain is what they're teaching in schools is AI. AI is massive now, absolutely massive, going to completely blow up. But it means that now the technology is taken over and kids don't really need to think like we used to think and be imaginative. Yeah. So the play that we did, we've done all the play and we've created all of this, computers, etc., for this generation to enjoy a more easier, should we say, life, but not as sociable as we were.
it's not an easier life. It's actually harder. You can't live alone. No man is an island. You can't make it on your own. You can't just be in the computer. I mean, you need as human beings, we need the interaction. And actually, by the way, I mean, look at us here on the platform. This is interaction. I mean, other than that, what are we doing? We're just going to and from work, come home.
Some kids, but some people find it fine to be on their own. And there are people who have anxieties and being in big crowds. So being this actually, working from a computer or playing a computer game is probably what they prefer. But the problem now is that what it's done is little things such as it's broken up the family unit and the community unit, so to speak. And now you've got no community centres, not as many community centres as we had back then. I don't think that kids see it as trendy going to a community centre. I don't know how Pinky's son feels about it. I mean, obviously he's gone to a community centre in West London.
No, they love it. They love to be amongst
some kids love it. Some kids might think, oh, I'm going to go to community, one of those community centre things. I'm going to play my computer game and talk to somebody online because I can speak to somebody in another part of the world whilst playing a computer game.
That's the thing. It's the balance. Nobody's saying computer games are wrong. Nobody's saying that at all. But it's the balance of and the ratio of time on your own with a computer game and time in being sociable with other people in the mix.
Yeah, and learning new things.
The balance.
Yeah, and learning new things.
But what you've got to remember, when they're playing these games, they're not always necessarily by themselves. They have got their friends in the room with them because they are playing with their friends. And I'm hearing that they communicate just like how we're talking here now. They are actually talking with their friends while they're actually playing these games.
Yeah, I know, I've seen it. And
so they're hearing them, and some of them now
forget that they're at home. The language starts coming out of their mouths because they forget they're at home.
Listen, let me tell you.
Yeah. There you are. That's what happens on these games. You don't know who on the other side is. And so whoever the other person is, if he was actually in your home, you wouldn't be hearing him curse like that. But because they're on the computer and they think it's just them, the language starts, and you just hear the stuff coming out of their mouths. And they're playing these violent games. Some of these games are really, really violent. And then next thing you see, they're out on the street and they're acting what they've done on the computer game. They're not. I mean, our computer games were Pac-Man, Space Invaders.
Well, I didn't have computer games, so I don't know nothing about computer
Donkey Kong.
Oh, I love Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong was my favourite.
Right.
Oh my God.
I remember, no, Pinky, I'm sorry, this is a different generation, sorry.
Asteroids.
Yeah, I don't know. What's Donkey Kong?
Donkey Kong, I remember my brother getting it from Hamleys, the little handheld.
Yeah. The little car games or the mobile games.
And you played Donkey Kong for ages.
Yeah.
Loved it.
It used to be 10p. 10p in the you'd have to put in the machine and you get a game. We used to be playing, and the kids would be around the shop, and we'd be playing this game. It was Pac-Man, or it was Donkey Kong, or it was Asteroids, or it was, simple things. But even playing the game was a sociable thing. And funny enough, I think about it, the shopkeeper used to allow you to play games in his shops, because obviously he's got customers coming in and out as well. So if as kids were a bit too rowdy, we're warding off his customers. But he could, funny thing, the shopkeeper would say, hey, guys, tone it down. The shopkeeper sort of had authority. Whereas in this day and age, you tell them tone it down. Them want to cuss off you. They want to turn against you. It's just a total flip where up is down is left, and right, don't know where it is. The world is crazy. But there was just so much more respect back then. And we used to be in the shop playing the game, and you weren't cussing off your mouth because you were respectful. You're in the guy's shop, customers are coming in and out, so you just play the game. Now these kids, it's a whole nother. It's a different world. It's a different world they're playing in, and the results, that's what we're talking about now. The results are what we're seeing played out on the streets. You know, we're seeing the knife crime. We're seeing the lack of respect. You know, that is between. I mean, you see these youth them acting up, and you wonder if you should say anything. And then some people say something, and then the youth them are cussing like, "Hey, where them youth they get them out from?" And to go on in them ways there. You know, look at this. What we're saying here, look, Supreme, the boys that thief cars was taught mechanics. Were they? They learned mechanics in the youth club and then went out thief cars. Nah. I remember there was a little youth when I was back in the day, and he was just a thief. I mean, forget about it. He was just, and I remember this Indian boy, I don't want to say his name, but where we're looking to get away from trouble, this boy came from family with a bit of means. He was looking to get into trouble. You cannot make, he's actually in prison now. You can't make this stuff up. We're looking to get away and do better. This guy's come from means, first one driving, he's got the best scarms, his dad owns a shop and all the rest of it. He's looking to get into trouble. We're like, you can't help some people. I mean, youth culture changed when we watched American culture. Basketball is an example. Well, actually, basketball, now come on, that was Michael Jordan. No two ways about it. With the Michael Jordan era in the 1990s, remember, basketball came onto TV here. And they made Jordan out to be the most amazing thing since sliced bread. The basketball, phenomenal area. I used to be out playing basketball. Lots of kids used to be on the courts playing basketball. It was a good thing. But the youth clubs were always better because there was some sort of adult supervision. So you go on the basketball courts, there was big man and kids and all the rest of it. But sometimes these youths would get into stupid arguments. So stupid. And next thing they want to rock a fight and all the rest of it. Just the youth club, that's the role they play. There was an adult in the room that managed affairs in a respectable way and put them in their place. You can't get that when you let the youths them just run out on the street and try to figure out the issues themselves. And that's everything. Can the youth them figure out issues? They're so into themselves, they're not learning those sociable skills, one to the other, how to handle problems, how to deal with other people. Angela Barrow, thank you for the surprise. Angela, is that Angela? There was an Angela Barrows in my school. Don't tell me that's you. Good Lord. I mean, so yeah, it's just what happened to the broken wrists? Explain that one. Enough people has broken wrists.
That might be after the game that people are playing. Yeah.
What? I didn't play that game. What is it? Not game? What you got?
Yeah,
that?
Knackers.
What? Hold on.
Like
what
two hard balls on a string. Or on a plastic shaft, and they make a noise, click, 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 but you have to go fast, and sometimes it can bust up your wrist.
I remember the girls that used to play that game.
They used to play Kiss Chase
with the jacks. They used to have the ball and the jacks.
Oh yes, no, you drop it and you catch it, isn't it? That I think the men used to play that.
Something.
Yeah. You swipe it off the floor.
You try to swipe it.
You swipe it off the ground. Yeah, off the table. Yeah. See if you can grab all four. You drop it and grab it.
I can't remember the point.
Reflect.
And then they used to play that game. Was that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hands or something. I mean,
Clapping hands. I got.
Yeah.
But, I mean, those games were all the rage.
And hopscotch.
Hopscotch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll have to play a game of hop. Remember we used to play Penny Up the Wall?
Yes, man. And marbles, Penny Up the Wall. All of that.
We used to play that for hours.
Yeah, conkers. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Penny Up the Wall.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, a nothing game, you know, you find you've got two little coppers in your pocket, you fling it up the wall, and then the game becomes who can get the coin closest to the wall.
Yeah.
Just an absolute game of nothing, you know. Yeah, absolutely about bad. Marbles, says Supreme Doctor. Yep, we used to play.
Yeah, marbles. Yeah.
Leisha used to play Conkers. Good
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, Conkers was fantastic.
Mm.
Well, I sent my youth to school with the string and the conker. You know what they tell him?
What?
Can't play that in school. Health and
No,
safety.
yeah, it's dangerous. Yeah,
What's the
yeah,
danger?
yeah. That's what they say.
Health
It
and
wasn't
safety.
dangerous when we were at school. We used to play Conkers, man.
I mean,
Yeah,
Buckaroo.
Conkers made you tough, man. Just have to make sure you just have to know how to just stay out the way and hold it out.
Yeah, well, of course, you put your thing there, let my man have his swing, then it's your
Boy.
then it's your turn. Good Lord, and the rules. Remember, for every game has rules. And what? We used to make them up.
Mm.
But I
And
think
then that
things
created
like-
the argument, then that created the jokes, and then oh my Lord, everybody's off now. It's like you can't stop them. I mean, classic, absolute classic. You can't get the same if you're just alone playing in front. You're playing with your little machine, your computer, your iPad, or whatever it is. Angela says the difference about going to community centers creates opportunity to mix with a range of others, and kids learn to interact with different children, building confidence. Playing games online restricts conversations that would support young people. Absolutely, that's it. That's it. You can't. The human interaction. You can't substitute that for online stuff. And online, by the way, you could be online. You could have your headphones on, right? And you could have your friends, and it could be a great game, even like we're on here. But you know what? You don't get the exercise, do you? And as kids, you need the exercise. I mean, the amount of running we used to do as kids, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. How much energy did we have? Good Lord. We used to play a game called Runouts, where you have two teams. One team runs out, and then the other team's got to find them. The whole street. And forget about people's backyards, front yards. It was all game. You could hide anywhere. And now I think about the parents, not the parents. I think about the adults at that time who owned their houses and all the rest of it. And here's us as kids. We're running through the backyard, through the front yard, through the gate, jumping the fence, the whole night. Yeah. It was just crazy, man. I mean, there's so many kids out there. Go out on the street now. How much kids you find? Pinky, your hand is up. Pinky's hands up.
Sure done.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yes,
Oh,
man.
we're finishing
15
soon.
minutes
Well,
ago.
guys, listen, if you're listening on the radio, it's been wonderful having you. Just absolutely amazing conversation. Youth clubs are an absolute necessary. Find us on YouTube. Find us at shampsandgiggles.co.uk. We'll be back with more conversation next week. Join in, tune in. We will be here. But yeah, show done. Goodbye.
Love you, chaps and giggles.
Love